Hello and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. Woohoo! The show where we take silly, goofy, outlandish, outrageous questions from you, the listener, and then we do a little bit of digging. We get our little shovels out, our digital shovels, and we dig away at the earth.
Sometimes we brush, brushing,
gently.
like very Jurassic Parky.
Yes.
You know, just kind of like
have
brushing.
A soft bristled brush, and we just...
I'm embarrassed that I said Jurassic Parky and not like paleontological. Like, why am I going with a movie that's not even... I don't know.
Or archaeological, Indiana Jones style, which, by the way, I've been playing the game and I realized there's a lot more whipping and traps in these movies than there probably is in real archaeology. I got to look into that. But the point of all that is... we uncover some sort of answer for you.
Yes.
And then we share it with each other. I'm Julian Huguet. I'm one of the two fake archaeologists.
Oh, I'm Trace Dominguez. I'm definitely a fake archaeologist. Although, I did once work at a historic site. I don't know if you know this. Right off the top, Julian. Right off the top. It actually had one of the longest ongoing archaeological digs in North America, if I remember correctly. Been going nonstop since the 1950s.
If you put a profession on your business card, but then you put fake in front of it, can anybody get mad at you? If I'm at like a convention and I'm like, Julian Huguet, fake archaeologist, and it's on the business card.
I mean, they can get mad at you, but what grounds do they have to stand on? I don't know. You should archaeology them.
Anyway, starting off this week, Trace, you have the first question.
I do. So our first question this week comes from, and I hope I pronounce your name right, Yael. How much does data weigh?
Oh, are we doing another Star Trek one?
No. Excellent. No. Good one. So, Yael goes on to say, hear me out. This idea came to me on a recent trip to help my brother move from Georgia to Texas. Now, I can tell that this person is not from a major American city because this paragraph goes on for a while. While watching the plane's engine through the window, I remembered a YouTube video I saw about how airlines do everything they can to minimize weight on planes and reduce fuel costs, including the white paint, because the pigment and colored paint makes the paint heavier. And on the scale of something as big as a plane, that adds up. And then as I looked at the screen in front of me and I thought, how much weight is added to the plane just in data, and is it noticeable? Now, I don't mean storage medium. Obviously, a solid state drive weighs less than a spinning platter hard drive. I get that. But what I mean is the actual data, the ones and the zeros on the storage devices that hold the movies that we get as entertainment on flights and make the plane go burr. Would streaming the data from a satellite lead to a measurable effect on the plane's fuel efficiency? Would that solve anything?
Interesting question.
Yeah.
I have thoughts. I also love the bit about paint because as somebody who makes scale models, I've learned way too much about aircraft paint patterns, especially in the World War II era.
Oh, yeah?
If I want to get exceedingly dull. All right, I'll give you the SparkNotes version.
Yeah, but please, yes, SparkNotes me.
The paint on planes does have a noticeable effect. And in World War II, right, when the Allies were sending bombers over Europe, initially, when the Allies hadn't really beaten the German Luftwaffe, the planes were painted in case the Germans would try and bomb Allied airfields so they'd blend into the ground. But towards the end of the war, when that wasn't really a problem anymore, that's when they just left the planes unpainted, basically, except for squadron markings and stuff like that. And so you'll notice late war aircraft are all like that bare aluminum look, and they're all shiny. And they found that it reduced drag because they could polish them, reduce weight so they could go farther, and it was a noticeable difference. So model makers get into that. This is a late war period B-17 because of that sort of stuff. I know too much about that now.
It sounds like model makers. I thought of the space shuttle, which the initial STS-1 mission, if you look at the original space shuttle, the big orange tank is not orange, it's white. And that's because they painted it. Inside of it is liquid hydrogen. So I think there must have been some we'll paint it white, it'll reflect more, it won't be as, dangerous or something. There must have been some reason other than just painting it white. But it turns out it was like hundreds of pounds of paint that they could save by not doing it. Right. So they stopped painting it white, and that's why it's orange. The orange is the unfinished piece.
It's the insulating foam,
it's just the foam that's on the outside of the tank. And since the tank's not reused, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it gets destroyed when it falls back into the ocean. That's not a big deal. So they just left it unpainted because it was just a fuel tank. Yeah, and so I remembered that from this. And But I'm not going to get into paint too much. That's enough for paint chat. Let's move on to the actual
the
data
podcast
storage.
about paint drying.
I'm Chip, your host.
And I'm Flake.
So let's explain first how data storage works, because this really does come down to data storage. Mm-hmm. Julian, what is your first memory of data storage?
I, first of all, love the implicit pun in this question. What I remember, so my dad was a programmer when I was growing up.
No way.
Yeah, and I remember learning the magical knowledge that if you wiped a floppy disk with a magnet, you would destroy the data held upon it. Yeah. And I thought that was so cool. And I tried to do it all the time.
How many of his discs did you, he never could play Pitfall again or something?
Yeah, exactly. That lemming game or whatever.
Yeah, you ruined it.
More than I care to admit. I had to learn that lesson many times.
My first memory was also the 5 1/4-inch floppy disk.
Oh yeah,
I had a Commodore 64. My dad had a Commodore 64, and he gave it to me when he upgraded. And so I had that in my room as a kid. It was fun. It was neat to I did play Pitfall and Aztec Challenge, and they even had this program that I could play that had music, had Billy Joel music. Obviously no lyrics because it was just a MIDI machine. It would just be it was fun. It was cool. And my dad was a very big nerd, and we would watch Computer Chronicles on PBS. I'm hearing the theme in my head right now. Wow. It doesn't matter. I built my first computer when I was 12. Back when things weren't color coded and you actually had to know where they went and what happened, and you had to move jumper switches on the motherboard because they weren't color coded. Anyway, my first hard drive though, because we're really talking about hard drives, I got as a teen. It was 2.6 gigabytes, which was huge.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would never fill that up. And I was playing with it. I was adjusting a wire in my computer because the case was still open, and the hard drive went and I was so mad.
Yeah. The worst sound when that little
so
arm,
expensive.
The read-write head is busted and you know it. Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
I put it back in the box and returned it and got a new one. And I never touched it again while it was on. I learned that lesson, and thank you to Best Buy for paying for it for me.
We're not looking too closely at it. The Best Buy employee, I'm sure, has no idea what's going on either.
Okay, so there are really two kinds of hard drives. What we both mentioned, floppy disks are they're the temporary or removable storage. There's the optical, there's tape, there's these floppy disks, there's hard floppy disks, which is confusing, but that's what they are. And they get bigger and smaller, all sorts of different ones. What Yael is asking about is hard drives. And as they mention, spinning platter hard drives and SSDs. Platters are way more common and probably what people think when they think of hard drives. Yeah. I don't think people typically think of an SSD as a hard drive, even though it is. We just don't picture it. I don't, at least. Mm-hmm. And Julian, you want to explain how hard drives work? Because I could see you on the edge of your seat, you want to jump in here.
I love this stuff. Yeah, it is, as the name implies, there's a spinning platter. And much like the floppy disks, right, you can basically encode a magnetic state on the disk as it spins around. So there's a little head inside of it, a read-write head, that as the disk is spinning around at some ungodly RPM number.
Yeah, thousands of 5,000, 7,000 RPM.
Yep. It flips the magnetic state of the material of the hard drive to have the magnetic pole pointing up or down, and that way it encodes bits.
That's right.
And it moves back and forth really, really fast, the little read-write head, and it jumps all around and stores stuff in different places, but that's basically it. Yeah, it's a spinning magnetic disk where the magnetic bits of it get manipulated by a little read-write head.
That's right. Yeah, the platters that Julian is talking about are made of aluminum or glass ceramic because it's a little cheaper, and they coat them a variety of things, and then they embed grains of magnetic material, physical grains of magnetic material in them. I want to point that out because I think when people use computers, and most computers don't have spinning hard drives anymore anyway, the ones that you're buying at the store these days, unless you have you custom build it and you needed a really big drive for some reason, or you have a network attached storage. Most of the time you can get by with an SSD. But that is a physical thing. It's physically moving in your computer. It's doing something in there and moving around. And I think people forget that. Similar to what we were talking about when we're talking about LLMs and AI and how much energy they use and how that's a physical thing that's really happening, even though all we're doing is typing into a computer and it feels very disengaged. Physical things are happening every time you do that. And these platters are everywhere in data centers. This is the way to store information. Like all of the Facebook photos you've ever seen came likely from a spinning platter hard drive in a data center somewhere, which is crazy to think about. But that's how they work. But anyway, Julian nailed it. It looks kind of like a record player, like a really shiny record player. There's a little arm and it moves back and forth. And it uses electricity to change the bit from a 0 to a 1. It's not... Now, computer nerds out there, I know it's not really a 0 or a 1. It's a different way to measure that magnetic field. But how it's referred to typically is by zeros or ones. When you get a new hard drive, and I think this is a misconception a lot of people have, it's not all zeros or all ones. In fact, the empty space of a hard drive is not even all zeros or all ones, unless you actively do that. Like you have to go and zero out your drive and it just goes through it every single bit and makes it a 0. You can do that, takes forever. But most of the time, what an empty hard drive is just a jumble of data, static. Right? It's just a jumble of data and if you think of a hard drive as a book, mostly what you're working with when you're browsing your hard drive is the table of contents. You're just looking at the table of contents, and a good searchable hard drive has a really good index, but you're not like going through the hard drive and looking at every file for stuff. Typically, right? You're just finding like, oh, I just need my photo from last year. So I'm going to type 2024 prom or whatever, and it's going to pop up, and that has been part of the table of contents or the index. You're not like going to every single photo and looking through every single one.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about this, but that makes total sense. Like when you start putting stuff on that hard drive, all you're really doing is telling the hard drive like, okay, you're going to go here to this specific spot on the disk, and you're going to flip these little things in this specific way, and then you're going to remember where that is. So if I need it again, you go back to that spot, and who cares what's in all the rest of it? Yeah,
and it doesn't matter what was there before, and it doesn't matter what was there after it. If you delete a file, typically it's just deleting the table of contents. The file is typically still there, which is great for data recovery software. It just goes back and it does physically read everything that's on the disk and be like, I think there was a video file here. Most of it's still there. A couple of things got overwritten, but mostly it's there. I've done this many times.
Yeah.
And so the data is really organized in the way the computer that you're using recognizes, but it's not really empty. Like it's not all zeros.
Which is why, if you are trying for data security reasons to, like wipe a hard drive that you're going to throw out with sensitive information, just like formatting it or deleting it, is not good enough.
Yeah, basically you just deleted the table of contents of the book. I like to picture it as you ripped out the 10 or 12 pages at the beginning that tell you what's in the book. The book is still readable. But
you threw away a phone book, but my house is still on the map somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
My house is still here.
Yeah, you can still go find it.
You can still find my house.
And so that's generally very high-level overview of how hard drives work. Then there are SSDs, a solid-state drive. Solid state meaning there's no moving parts. This is a computer chip. I actually found this amazing description of how these work on Reddit, actually, from a Redditor called Amphirax.
I'm relieved because I had no idea. I could explain
this is really, really good. It's really good. An SSD, get this, is like a large plastic sheet covered with bumps, like from a soda cup lid.
Oh.
To read it, the computer checks the little bumps. But in real life, instead of bumps, it's microscopic capacitors and transistors. So instead of popping the little bump, the computer just puts a little bit of voltage into the capacitor and then comes back and checks it later. If the voltage is a 1, it's got voltage in it. If it's a 0, it's got no voltage in it. These are super oversimplified, again, for the computer nerds out there. And again, I know it's not a 1 or a 0. I get it. Let's not go over this again.
Right.
So that is essentially how an SSD works. They both work the same way in terms of the table of contents and the index and read writes, and they're changing things from 1s to 0s. Although SSDs, I didn't know this is cool, have an added benefit in that because it's a little capacitor, that little capacitor can hold different amounts of voltage. So you can actually store more than 0s and 1s. You can store like 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0. So you're storing essentially 4 times, double the amount of data, really, because it's not just 1 or 0. It's all these other things. And it's just like varying the amount of voltage in the capacitor. Very cool. Yeah, really, really neat.
Yeah, squeezing a little bit more out of that available space. Yeah,
exactly. So that's so cool. And I could get into it further. There are literally divots where the electrons go, and they like live in this little space where they just stay. It's really wild, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But Yael is specifically then asking about the systems on airplanes, which I was like, I mean, okay, we can talk about data in general, but if you want to talk about airplanes, Yael, we can.
Okay, yeah, I'm on board.
Julian's favorite thing. So everybody's with me so far. We've got two different types of hard drives, and they both exist on airplanes. Every airplane that you have probably been on has either or both spinning platter hard drives and SSDs on them. Isn't that cool?
That is cool. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Figured. Had to be. I mean, along with the entertainment system that we're no doubt thinking about, the flight recorder boxes, the black boxes, that sort of thing, has also got to be recording data in some way.
Yes,
and that's
of course
how they're going to be doing it.
And it has to be able to be recording it in such a way that if it falls out of the sky and crashes, it doesn't break. So it's very specialized. I fly a lot, and I've used all of the different seat back monitors that you can poke and stuff, and they're all running pretty much the same like ideas of Linux, of varying types of Linux, which is, if you're not familiar, an operating system that's considered quite stable. It doesn't crash as much as a Windows or a Mac typically does. It can be run for years without crashing in ideal scenario.
It's also open source, right? So the airline doesn't has to pay a licensing fee to Microsoft or Mac. Okay, I see what you did there.
For those hundreds of screens on hundreds of seats. Hundreds. The Airbus A320, the most common Airbus plane in service. Any guess how many seats it has, airplane boy?
Okay, well, it's going to depend on exactly which A320, right? Is it an A320 Neo, like the airlines are about to start rolling out? But also, like, the
average. Give me an average.
The 737, the Boeing, which is the competitor, comes in multiple flavors, right? Like the 8 Max and the 9 Max, and those are used. Basically, they just make, like, slightly longer segments that they can kind of stick onto the tube part of the plane to make it a little bigger, depending on what the airline orders. But it's going to be around, like 100 people.
Yeah. So Airbus 320 can accommodate typically up to 170 seats. But again, you're right. Like, it depends what they order. And then the 737, which is now the second most common airplane in service, just surpassed by the 320, can accommodate over 180 people. Both are relatively small airplanes. Like, there are much, much bigger airplanes than those. The reason they're so popular is because they're good for regional. They're very fuel efficient because they're kind of small. Meanwhile, the 2-story Airbus A380 with 4 engines, it is a monster airplane, can seat 545 people. And each one of them has a screen on the back of their seat.
That's a lot. There's a lot of screens.
It's a lot of screens.
It's a lot of processing that you have to do simultaneously.
Heck yeah, it is, Julian. Thank you for taking me there. So, there's not a lot of information outside of very nerdy forums on how these systems work, but I found some manuals for Air Canada on Scribd on how to actually load media onto the systems, which are called IFEs, in-flight entertainment systems. The most common that I could find, and there are other manufacturers, but the most common was Panasonic's. They had the EX2, the EX3. They're actually working on, just announced their new one, which is called the Astrova system. It's a 4K HDR10 5.1 surround sound, Bluetooth enabled, work with your device's USB-C system. Whew. But anyway, it's fancy.
Sounds very fancy.
So imagine 545 screens that all need to be served media from somewhere on the airplane. That's a lot of media.
That is.
And they're all connected through essentially Ethernet cable. They run to the displays on every seat. Little displays tap into a server somewhere on the airplane, like a network-attached storage server, and they play the movies, which are loaded literally via a USB key onto the movie server by, some person. And they, plug it in, they load them up, and then you can tap into them. The thing is, anybody who knows anything about network-attached storage is, but what if 500 people all decide to watch the same movie? That is an impossible problem to solve with one box.
Right.
And older systems, even older ones, used a mix of SSDs and spinning hard drives. But now they're transitioning to SSDs, which would solve some of this problem, but not all the problem. Because 4K content is a huge problem for any internet service provider of any kind, including the intranet that is on planes. And that is basically what it is. It is a totally networked environment that you are in. All of those little computers in front of you are networked together to this little box. And it's also getting information like the weather and live television, if you get that, and sometimes the internet and other things. 4K content uses about 25 megabits per second as a connection. That's a lot.
It is.
Imagine 150 seats in an airplane. That's 3.5 gigabits of network information flowing all the time.
Every second.
Everyone's watching 4K. That's a huge amount of network information. And if everyone chose to watch the same thing, all of it in 4K, man, that would be nutso.
Also, I can't imagine, though, using a 4K screen on the back of the little seats. They're so tiny.
They are so
4K
tiny.
seems overkill, but...
It does, but it's the thing to do.
Okay.
I disagree with it, but look, I don't need that. I bring my own iPad. I don't need that. But
I doubt most people could tell the difference between 1080p and 4K on a little screen that size. But
Yeah.
I'm sure on the marketing material, when they're like, we got 4K screens.
5.1
You're
HDR.
like, oh, I'm going to fly that airline instead of whatever crappy...
Yeah, whatever over here, JetBlue's
Ugh,
giving me
that's unwatchable.
480. Seriously, though, JetBlue, upgrade your screens, guys. It's really embarrassing. It's 2025, you guys. Please.
JetBlue's got a lot more problems than just the screens. Listen, if you listen to the Av Talk podcast like I do,
Do you really?
where
Oh my
guys
God,
talk
I love
about
it.
how different airlines are doing, the super low-cost airlines are in a bad state right now. So we're gonna give them a pass.
A not solid state.
Very nice. Very nice.
Anyway,
Bringing it all together.
Trying to. One solution that they're starting to do now to avoid the 500 people are watching the same thing and we only have so much network environment is to put SSDs in every single one of those screens. Then mesh them together. So you're watching Captain Marvel, maybe that's already on your seat. It's in your SSD, no problem. But if it's not, maybe it's on seat 12C, not far from you or something. It pulls it from that seat, literally from that seat's storage, because it's already in there. Rather than pulling it from some central place, it meshes them together.
So it's like a mini airborne server farm.
Yep.
What?
It's
That's
incredible.
cool.
It's actually really cool. I was reading this and I literally said out loud, what?
That's really clever and cool.
How they described it. And by the way, this was 3 years ago that they were describing this system. Maybe you're watching all the Lord of the Rings in 4K is just clustered in a handful of seats in row 6. And then all the unwatched and terrible Snyder cuts are all clustered together over in seat 40 somewhere near the toilet where they belong. And if you sit in seat 22 and you need a movie and you accidentally click on the Snyder cut, it pulls it from seat 40 and says, my time has come. And then you say, no way, get out of here. You shall not pass.
No.
But anyway, it literally just knows where all the media is. But it means that on a seat, on 545 seats, if each one had just a little SSD in it, you could have 500 terabytes of information just in the seats. You don't even need another thing anywhere in the plane, which is super interesting. And, they're pitching it as, more content, more available, not in a centralized, decentralized, less weight, but also more weight because SSDs. Foreshadowing. This actually all reminds me of this old experiment, and I'm going to tell it really quick because I've been going on for a bit. This guy named Duncan McDougall, scientist in Boston at the turn of the last century, was trying to find out how much souls weighed.
Wait, Duncan McDougall in Boston?
Yep. He was a cliche.
Sorry. I just imagine him going on to be the founder of Dunkin' Donuts, but okay.
Maybe he did after this.
When
I
his
would have liked
science
for him to have been.
about the weight of a soul was thoroughly debunked, and he was like, oh,
sadly,
no.
it wasn't at the time necessarily.
Oh.
But I got to give him some credit. But anyway, it's a very famous paper. It was published in 1907. And this guy, McDougall, was like, if the soul is real, it must exist in the body. And he did an experiment, and they're like, it weighs 21 grams. Here's a quote. According to the latest conception of science, substance or space-occupying material is divisible into what is gravitative, solids, liquids, gases, all having weight, and the ether, which is non-gravitative. It seems impossible to me that the soul could consist of the ether. Basically, he was saying, nah, it should have mass, bro. And this was a common thought in science at the time. They actually hadn't invented like massless packets of light energy like photons. That didn't come about yet. I mean, the first Einstein papers and some of Max Planck's work on quanta of light and stuff, that was already around. But they didn't coin the term photon and like talk about massless particles until relativity just a few years like around this time.
Yeah, like a decade or so later.
Yeah. So McDougall wrote, the soul must contain gravitative matter, a term which I find very funny. And he started this collaboration with this hospital for people with tuberculosis, which was incurable at the time, so it's super unethical. And his hypothesis was the soul must have matter, so if you put the person who is dying on a scale, when they die, their soul will leave their body and you'll be able to measure it on a scale. The sheer audacity of putting people on scales and being like, okay, you can die whenever you're ready now.
Dying people, yeah, dying
people.
Hold on, not yet.
Hang on, the scale's not ready, which is actually relevant because he only did this 6 times. And 3 of those times the scale was screwed up. And so he really only has, of the 6 case studies, the first one was 21 grams. The second was 14 grams, but it sat there for 15 minutes before something happened. And his explanation was, this man was slow of thought and action. His soul just took its time to come out or whatever. And it's like, he was
dead, but his soul didn't realize it yet.
Yeah, it was just like, ew,
his soul's still hanging out.
He described him as phlegmatic. And then a 28.3 gram soul, real big.
If you've got a pulmonary disease like tuberculosis, I imagine you'd have a lot of phlegm.
Yeah. Nice. He also did this with 15 dogs. With no measurable losses, by the way. No, the scale did not change when the dogs died at all.
Therefore, dogs no souls.
Dogs don't go to heaven, clearly, unlike the 1993 documentary, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Do you know how much distress, that has caused, that being told that, like, sorry, dogs, no souls, no heaven.
No souls, no heaven, sorry.
I mean, that upsets me. I get
it.
Listen, I don't think I'm getting into heaven, but if I were allowed and they told me, like, Pepper's not going to be there, I'd be like, pass.
I'm good.
Just saying.
Understood.
Just throwing that out there.
I get it. So to his credit, McDougall did say that more research was needed. My favorite phrase. But other less sciencey people have read this stupid paper and thought, oh my God, the soul
proves it.
Weighs 20 grams.
It's been scienced.
They scienced it one time 120 years ago.
Studies are always right. They are always irrefutable. The methodology does not need to be scrutinized.
No. Reading scientific papers is hard, people. And I say all of this, even all of this is an aside, because you think, of course, data weighs something. And then, depending on how you measure it, people are arguing still on the internet today about whether it does. A bunch of people say it does. A bunch of physicists are like, no, it weighs nothing. And a bunch of computer scientists and physicists are arguing about it literally all the time. I found so many forums. It's really fascinating.
Right.
Julian, do you think data weighs anything?
Here's my thought.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time setting up how SSDs work and how hard drives work, right?
Yes.
And when we talked about the hard drives, for example, we said all they're doing is they're taking these little bits scattered across the disk and they're changing their magnetic field to point in one direction or another. Correct. So that can be interpreted as bits.
Yes.
And if that's the case, all you're doing is taking something that's already there.
Yes.
And changing the state of it.
Yes.
You are not adding mass to anything.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's exactly what I wrote. Now, if you remember the AI LLM cooking episode.
Of course, it was like 2 episodes ago. How could I forget?
When the hard drive is on, it is containing energy and spinning, and thus is, under strict rules of physics, slightly more massive.
Right.
But as soon as you turn it off and there's no electricity running through it, it returns to the mass that it was before. You didn't add any, no matter how much data you put on it, you didn't change the mass. However, SSDs, this is where I'm like, my thought is, remember them little bumpies?
That was my next thought, because for hard drives, I'm like, no. But SSDs, we talked about them having an electron pit.
Yeah, basically they have an electron pit.
Where they're holding on to those little electrons and the capacitors that are storing the charge.
Yeah.
And I could see it technically
Yes.
If you had the most insanely sensitive scale in the world and you put an airplane on it with the SSDs...
In a vacuum, probably.
Yeah, in a vacuum.
It would have to be the most perfect vacuum in the world.
Right.
Trust me, I did the math.
You could be like, oh yeah, look at that, it weighs a little bit more.
Yeah. So basically everyone cites this same thing. And actually some of them cite a guy who cited this thing. So this guy, Fred Langa, wrote, a 1 gigabyte SSD filled with all ones weighs more than filled with all zeros, because the ones mean there's some electrons in those capacitors. Fred did not cite where he got that, but in my searches, I found that it might have come from a Reddit thread where one person posted some math and then Fred literally used the exact same language, and then other people cited Fred, and I was like, I just have to say all of that to tell you that all of this could be wrong. But electrons have a mass of 9.1 times 10 to the negative 31 kilograms. Very teeny. I could say that for the rest of the podcast.
Right.
And I would still not say enough teenies. But we have to make some assumptions about how much voltage, because SSDs are not all the same and blah, blah, blah. An oft-cited calculation, the one that Fred cites from this Reddit thread, is 1 gigabyte completely filled with ones equals 7.29 times 10 to the negative 16 kilograms, about 729 femtograms. All right?
Okay.
That's what this math says. So a hard drive that is 1 gigabyte, nobody has those anymore, 729 femtograms. So if you multiplied that 500,000 times to the A380 500 screens, all of them are filled with ones. It's 500 terabytes of ones on SSDs. You're still only at 365 nanograms heavier.
I don't think that's going to save as much fuel as the white paint or bare aluminum.
And to put that in perspective, Blue Bulb Project will not do that. So I had to get a little creative and think about some things. And that is essentially how much when like a single skin cell lands on your body, like from somebody else or whatever, a speck of pollen lands on your skin. That is essentially how much that's what you're feeling. And the femtograms, I was like, wait a minute. Is that like an E. coli bacteria smashing up against you? One E. coli bacteria? And yeah, it is. An E. coli bacteria is like 700 and some femtograms. So like 73% of an E. coli. So it's like it's really moving and it just smashes into you with a 3/4 of its mass. Watch where you're going, E. coli. And it's like, that's the amount of mass that we're talking about.
Yeah.
One bacterium, not even a whole one, just like
one
part
very
of one.
Stunted growth bacteria, like it didn't have a lot of lettuce to eat that day or something.
Right. They assumed, by the way, for this calculation, about 100,000 electrons were needed to make this capacitor show one, which seemed low to me.
I remember, and this may be outdated or just a headline, but I remember years ago seeing something like a Wired article that said basically the entire internet, the mass of all the electrons that, make up all the data whizzing back and forth was like the mass of a single strawberry.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's
something insane like
much.
that.
Yeah.
But one thing I do think we need to consider too is like conservation of mass in this system, right? If the hard drive is filled up with electrons, where did those electrons come from, right? They're part of the entire power supply of the jet.
Right. They were... If anything, you're losing fuel to burn it to make electricity at a pretty inefficient rate. Like efficient for an airplane, but inefficient in terms of like, it's not a 1-to-1. You're not like every gram of gasoline, you get a gram of thrust. It's like a lot of it goes to heat. Some of it's just, lost in the, it's not efficient.
So you've got the engines powering the electrics of the jet, but they're just moving electrons through the circuitry that were already there. So
this is a great point.
Even then, like, sure, if you were to take an SSD and fill it up with ones and then like unplug it and carry it on a plane, it would be heavier than an empty hard drive that you also carried on. But I don't know necessarily that.
That's a great point.
Even filled up, if it's part of the plane's whole connected system, you're not getting new electrons in or out.
No. I think Yael's point is really interesting because they're like, well, what if you're getting the movies? They're beaming them from a satellite onto the airplane. And that does happen, actually. The part of this like meshing of the seats is also having this connected to an internet system. And they have all of these different ideas. But all of the electrons that power all of that on the airplane, the thing that is picking up the satellite is doing it with electrons that come from the airplane. And that's just how it is. So does data get heavier? Indubitably. Just the amount of heavier is so small that it just does not matter at all.
Not significant. It's not worth factoring in.
On top of that, have you heard of Benford's Law?
No.
In 1881, there were no calculators available, so they used a log table book to find tables of logarithms. It was very common in the 19th century, and it was used for a long time. It's the basis of the slide rule as well. You do this calculation. I can explain it. I looked it up, but I'm out of time. The point is, in 1881, an astronomer named Simon Newcomb was reading these log table books, which are literally just massive books of numbers in what looks like a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And he realized the pages starting with 1, the earlier pages in the book, were way dirtier than the pages it was with 2 all the way up to 9. And he came up with this formula, n equals log times n plus 1 minus log n. And people were like, whatever, Simon, I got logs to log. And then in the 1930s, Frank Benford found Newcomb's law and took it a step further, analyzing 20,000 numbers from random places around their life, like drainage areas and stock markets, properties of chemicals and all sorts of stuff, and found 30% of all the numbers that they contacted began with 1. 18% began with 2, and only 4.5% started with 9. And came up with this formula, probability of digit equals d equals log 1 plus 1 over d.
Wait, is this the one that they use to catch people committing like tax fraud? Because the numbers that they put on their forms don't follow these rules?
Honestly, they probably do, yes. I bet you they do. Because
I think I've heard of this, yeah.
I think it actually works too. Didn't you bring up not long ago the birthday paradox?
Oh, yeah.
So that's also this, where, a very low number of people in a room, there is a high chance that 2 of them will share the same birthday. And that has to do the same idea, that the probability of numbers appearing is much higher in many ways than you think. And so a hard drive of 0s and 1s, there's just going to be way more 0s. Not just because of how binary works, because in binary there's just more 0s, but even if it were random, because truly random numbers don't really exist like that, there's just going to be a lot of 0s. There's going to be a lot. So in the end, there are more of some numbers for some reasons. Zeroed out SSDs are technically lighter than 1s. Although, to be honest, when you zero out an SSD, you actually put all 1s into it, so you make it heavier. We call it being zeroed out. So even though, there's less mass in a 0 than a 1, it's like skin cell level. A savage E. coli attack. We're not talking about... Or even for an entire airplane, it amounts to 1 speck of pollen, which is
and that's an A380. That's a big airplane.
That's the biggest airplane. Not literally, but
airplane.
the big boy. I rode on it one time. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I rode on the bottom floor on the way over and on the top floor on the way back, and it was so cool, but it felt like riding in a regular airplane for everybody else. And they were like, why are you getting up and walking around? And why you want to look out my window? And I'm like, this is so cool. There are stairs. Anyway.
You have a little bit of the airplane nerd in you as well.
Yes, I do.
It's there. It's latent.
No, it's not that lingering. I just don't talk about it as much as you do.
It's just not my whole personality, Julian.
Yeah. On that note, before Julian starts talking about airplanes, let's take a quick break and come back with his question.
So you want to know more about the 737-200? I was flying in Southwest, and I'm like, it's so cute. The little 737-200 is like a little munchkin plane.
Kyle, cut it. Kyle.
I didn't even talk about the airlines can pick the seats, like sizes and spacings. Oh, yeah.
Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then, and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. So that's why the tricycle configuration eventually really took over for the tail dragger, like traditional landing gear.
Are we back? Did we come back from break? I feel like we're back from break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. I'm still here with Julian. Julian, don't you have like a question to answer or something?
I mean, I guess I'll cut the airplane talk short.
Tune into our other podcast, On the Wings of Wisdom.
My question this week comes from Daniel. I can't even read it.
Please tell me.
Daniel.
Please tell me it's airplane related.
No, it's not, but it's still really good.
Okay, please tell me.
Daniel asks, how many lions would beat the sun?
What? What does that mean?
Oh, don't worry. Daniel clarifies.
Oh, good. Thank goodness. I was worried.
At my sleepaway camp, there is a saying.
Oh, God. I love everything about it so far.
Who would win, a trillion lions or the sun?
What? What?
The obvious answer is the sun, but then the other person says, what if they come out at night?
Oh, God.
But actually, how many lions would beat the sun? And then he includes in parentheses, I calculated about 13.86 octillion.
That's a lot of lions.
I love, he has
He did not show his work?
no criteria for what it means to beat the sun, does not show the math, therefore, of how he got 13.86 octillion, but I think I might have some inclination as to where that came from.
Oh, my God.
But let's get into it. Okay.
Yeah, okay, wait. We're talking about the Detroit Lions. And
Yeah, how many?
How many Barry Sanders?
Well, the Detroit Lions can't beat anyone.
Hey, that's not true. They didn't
In the
lose
playoffs.
everything this year.
Yeah, they did. They had a great regular season. I'm sorry, long-suffering Detroit sports fans. I know.
They're not suffering right now. My family is all Lions fans.
Oh, okay.
And they're not. They're fine. They're fine.
Well, hopefully they, better luck next year for them again. Okay.
They drink 5 beers during the game, no matter whether we're winning or losing.
Trace, nobody wants to hear about football, okay?
It's true. I mean, American football. There's a lot of Europeans and international audience here, so we got to be real.
It's true.
If we're going to use metric, we got to call anyway.
So, let's start talking about what does it mean to beat the sun, right?
Right.
My assumption is you stop it from producing heat and light and from fusing hydrogen into helium, right?
Jeez. Okay. Yeah.
What do you think beating the sun means?
Like a foot race? I don't know. Like, I guess it doesn't have feet, so it'd be easy to beat it at a foot race. I'm not sure. It's so big. People don't realize how big it is.
It's so big.
It's so big. Okay, got it.
For some reason, the first place, I said first plane.
Oh,
the first
God,
place,
Julian.
my brain goes.
The first airplane I want to talk about today.
Stop it. Okay. How many lions would it take to equal the mass of the sun? I'm thinking like heavyweight title fight, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to go like mano a mano, head to head, right? How many lions would we need just to be in the same weight class as our star, the sun? So I looked into it. Female lions, they weigh about 270 to 400 pounds. Males, 330 to 570. So I'll take a number roughly in the middle, about 400 pounds or 180 kilograms. Daniel starts out with 1 trillion lions. What does that put us at? Well, that's 180 trillion kilograms, 1.8 times 10 to the 14 kilograms, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Now, the sun has about the same mass as 2 times 10 to the 14 kilograms.
Oh, how
times
convenient.
another 10 to the 16.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. I was going to say, it seems small, but...
Yeah, no.
Okay.
When the numbers are this big, you cannot conceptualize them.
No, you really can't.
No, 10 to the 14 is much, much, much too small. It's literally, you need another trillion and then another 10,000 times that number of lions.
And even trillion is
another
hard.
trillion times, and then another 10,000 times that number.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Which would put you at about what Daniel calculated. Daniel said he calculated 13.86 octillion. Multiply that by the 180 kilograms. That's 2.5 times 10 to the 30 kilograms. That's 0.5 nonillion kilograms in mass advantage, actually. We've given the lions an upper paw. Yeah, nonillion is
That's
10 to the 30th power.
That's too many.
That's too many lions.
It's
too many lions.
I don't think we want that many.
We don't.
Lions. It's an apex predator. It's supposed to breed slowly.
Well, I don't know how you'd get, since the Earth is, the mass of the Earth.
Microscopic in comparison.
We couldn't even convert all of the Earth to lions and come anywhere close to this.
The whole mass of Earth, every single atom of Earth into lions, we'd still not have anywhere
not
near.
Even
we'd need thousands of more
close.
Earths.
I don't know how we'd make more lions than this number all at once, right? Okay. And then my question after that is, let's say we have our 13.86 octillion, right? Our 2.5 nonillion kilograms of lions.
Oh, jeez. Too many lions.
Then what do we do with it? Do we just
throw it at the sun at that point?
Launch them at the sun? Consider this, right? If it's, a stellar mass-sized group of lions, it's going to form a big ball.
It's going to be a sun.
It's going to be
turn into a sun.
Right. Except it won't be able to do fusion because you
don't
don't just have loose hydrogen.
Yeah.
But you're going to crush all the lions under their own mass.
Oh, no.
Right? You're going to have like a lion slurry.
This is worse than that time Mufasa fell off that cliff.
Oh, don't worry. We will get to Mufasa.
Oh, no. Basically, you're saying everything the light touches is terrible.
Well, yeah, that's the problem here, is the light is going to touch all the lions, and what's going to happen when we crash the lion ball into the sun? So I was thinking, well, what happens when stars collide with each other? Because that's not an uncommon occurrence, right? Plenty of stars form in binary systems. A lot of the time they're stable, but every now and then they do end up colliding into each other. And the way that astrophysicists can identify this with these like larger mass stars is their magnetic field is a lot more screwy than other stars their same mass. And that indicates that there was a collision that basically churned all the material together and messed up the magnetic field. And, a handful of stars that we see have that signature. And so we go, okay, these stars must have collided. But when there are two stars colliding like that, you just get one bigger star.
Yeah, because they're mostly light things.
The Sky and Telescope article that I found talking about this, the opening sentence is, in stellar astronomy, sometimes 1 + 1 = 1. And my brain exploded because I didn't want to think about adding 1 and 1 together to get not 2 ever again.
Yeah, last week was rough.
It was hard for me. But anyway, you just get a bigger star since they're made out of all the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stars
they're both hydrogen, helium, and some other stuff.
Typically, stars about 73% hydrogen, 25% helium, and the other 2% is other stuff. Lions are not that.
Oh, God, no.
Right?
A lot of water.
A lot of water,
a lot of H2O in there.
A lot of hydrogen and oxygen. Yeah, so the hydrogen, great. But then what about all the oxygen, the nitrogen, the carbon that's, the spine of all the molecules that make up the lions, all the other trace elements, the iron? What happens then? And I was like, gosh, I wish I could just call a solar physicist and ask,
Like our friend Ian O'Neill?
Like our friend Ian O'Neill.
Our friend who studied heliodynamics, Dr. Ian O'Neill?
Yes!
You called my buddy?
I texted him.
Oh!
And listener, to give you some insight, this episode's coming together very last minute because of some scheduling issues that we've had. So I literally 2 hours ago was texting Ian O'Neill.
Is that why you're like, I can't do this right now. I have to do it later?
Yes, I was like, Ian, I have a question about lions crashing into the sun. I need you to call me in the next hour. And he did.
I love that man.
Me too. He's having a martini somewhere. He takes my call. He goes, Julian, what's up? And I said, Ian, how many lions would it take to beat the sun? And he goes, I have no idea what you're getting at there. And I told him my theory of the big ball O lions.
Yeah.
And I asked him, we take our big ball O lions, we crash it into sun. What happened? And he said...
What happened? Solve anything?
What happened? What solve? Solve yes?
Solve yes, please?
And he said his first instinct is actually, here's your problem. You're adding more mass to the sun. You're going to therefore make the fusion happening in the core more intense. You've just supercharged the sun. You've made it more powerful.
Amazing.
But then I said, okay, well, I can understand that with stars that happening, absolutely. But I brought up that lions are not made of just helium and hydrogen and, trace other materials. And he goes, oh, you've got a point there. And he says, well, what would probably happen with your big ball O lions is everything the light touches would get vaporized, right? You just absolutely obliterate these lions as they head towards the sun.
Like atomize them.
Yes.
You just end up with a bunch of hydrogens that would merge with the sun.
Well,
some oxygens,
or
some
would
carbons.
They? Because a lot of it would also get blown away
by the solar wind. As it got atomized. Interesting.
Right.
Cool.
So he says, listen, you'd have to do some calculation on how much of that matter would actually make it to the sun, and then eventually the heavier elements sink down to the core, and if that would be enough to stop the fusion happening there. And he brought up how, yes, what?
What you're telling me is we need more lions.
We need
a lot more lions.
We need more lions.
We need more lions. More.
This was my reaction the entire time researching this. This is gonna take a lot of lions.
It's a lot of lions. It's such a ridiculous unit. I love it. Oh, God.
Okay, but then I thought about it more after thanking Ian very much for taking the time out of his day.
Yeah.
To explain to me that probably still wouldn't be enough lions. I thought about it, and I realized that in this scenario of our giant lion ball crashing into the sun, best case, it's a tie.
Oh. And
right?
the star just, goes out.
If you kill the star, but the star vaporizes all the lions, it's a draw.
You just need one more lion. One. He's just lagging behind, 13, he was just in the back.
13.86 octillion plus 1.
And 1.
That's the...
He's in the back.
In the back. He's the commander. He's the zero fail.
He's looking to see,
get him.
Is it going out? Okay, I'm going. And he just arrives right at the right moment.
What's the lion from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? He's the one.
Aslan.
Yeah, so you've got Aslan just hanging in the back, commanding. The talking lion gets to be the one that lives. But no, anyway, I think there might be a more lion cost-efficient approach here.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So you're not just, you tried the massive lions.
Yes, the brute force.
So it's like 1.3 million Earths would fit in the volume of the sun or something?
Something could say it like that.
So you need as many lions as it would take to replace 1.3 million Earths. I mean, that's so many lions.
We're not going to go.
It's so many.
We're not going to go with the direct approach here, okay?
Yeah, okay, good.
I think
I know
beating
you're gonna do.
the sun. Oh, what am I going to do?
You're going to get a laptop and then upload a virus into the sun with Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum? Because the sun runs Mac OS.
I'm sorry. That was not. I derailed.
Okay, that's fine. We have no structure here anyway. My thinking is, if you want to beat the sun, sure, there's the head-on approach, but if you outlast the sun, that counts as beating it, right? If you're still here and the sun is not, you've won.
That means you win. I think it's called the hand on car property.
Right. The hand on a hard body.
Yeah, hand on a hard body.
Whoever's still touching the sun. Wait, no.
Whoever's still touching the car at the end of the competition gets
wins
to take it
the
home.
Sun. So, what if we just have lions for long enough that the sun burns out, but the lions remain? So now we're going to take a hard left turn from astronomy to biology.
Yeah, into like ecology and conservation.
Exactly. We're going to take a very, very different tack here. First of all, we need to establish how long we need these lions to keep existing.
Right.
Well, the sun is going to last for, we think, between another 5 or 6 billion years. So the inside is going to contract, and then that's going to ignite another stage of fusion, where now it's fusing helium into heavier elements and some carbon. And that's going to cause the outer layers to expand outward. And they're going to expand outward so far that they might even engulf the Earth's orbit where it currently is.
Right.
So we're going to need to put our lions on a spaceship.
Oh, God.
For this to work. But at that point, the sun will be a red giant star, and it'll be able to keep going for another 2 billion years or so, we think. And then finally, by that point, it's not going to have enough mass to fuse even heavier elements. It's not going to have enough helium that it can keep fusing to keep fusion going. It's going to basically lose those outer layers, and the core that's left behind is going to turn into a white dwarf. So it's just going to be this glowing little core of helium that's going to slowly burn out, basically. And I think at that point, so 7 or 8 billion years in the future, at that point, you've won. If anything, if any lions are still around.
Yeah.
So now let's take a look at what it's going to take to keep lions around for that long.
Yeah.
Well, 7 billion years, biologically speaking, is an incredibly long time.
That's a long time.
That's
like a really long time.
Very, very, very long time.
It's like half the age of the universe, long time.
Like basically twice as long as life has existed on Earth, and life in that time has gone from single-celled to, everything that we see around us.
Right.
So how do we keep lions
and not
for that long
else?
and not have them change? Well,
they don't evolve into like a sentient lion-like being.
Yes. Well, in conservation biology, you have something called a Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, which is basically if there are 5 assumptions that you can meet, then you won't get evolution. Okay?
Oh, okay. Cool.
So these 5 assumptions are no mutation,
got it,
random mating, no gene flow, so no outsider from your population coming in and bringing new genes in.
New genes, got it.
Infinite population size, and no selection. So no natural selection, no sexual selection, nothing like that that's causing certain alleles, certain, different varieties of genes that may be harmful or beneficial to get selected for or selected out or what have you, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Clearly, we cannot actually meet all 5 of these assumptions.
Right. How are you going to stop random mutation? That's like part of how DNA works.
That's just going to happen, especially over 7 or 8
billion
years.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a great answer for that, aside from hypothetical speculative ones of, we keep sequencing their genome. And if we get any mutations that are wrong, we just delete it. Same for infinite population size. Obviously, that's impossible. But we can have a big enough population where we maintain genetic diversity, right? So we don't have inbreeding. We don't have these harmful mutations or alleles that if, both of them were present on offspring might be harmful. We keep, crossbreeding them and maintaining that population's genetic diversity, which, by the way, I just want to say is part of the important work that zoos do.
Yes.
A little side note here. A lot of people, especially today, I think there's an anti-zoo sentiment. And I think a lot of people only see the animals in their, in habitats and enclosures and think that it's basically animal prison. But zoos are really important for keeping populations of especially endangered animals genetically in a good state, right? They have very complex breeding programs where they're tracking, like the entire lineages of all the animals in captivity to make sure that, like, when they breed a lioness from this zoo with a lion from this other zoo, they're not going to have some inbreeding issue and that sort of thing. So shout out to zoos for the good conservation work that they do, along with, raising a lot of money for conservation work in the actual native habitats of these animals, and also educating the public, because it turns out more people go to zoos each year than they go to movies and football games and stuff. It's insane, actually.
That's wild.
Yeah, a ton of people come through the zoos.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So, a 2003 paper estimated that to ensure a genetically healthy lion population, you need about 50 prides of lions. This was across Africa. They were estimating this. And they need to be able to actually come into contact with each other so you can have, no buildup of inbreeding. You actually get like a swapping of genes, keep the gene pool healthy. It's about 15 lions per pride. So you need about 750 lions to start.
Oh, that seems doable.
Yeah, that's not too bad, right? And then I thought, okay, well, you need them to reach adulthood and make the next generation of lions. How long does it take for them to reach adulthood? Trace, how old do you think adult lions are?
5.
You just knew that?
No, I just guessed.
That doesn't seem surprising to you?
No.
Okay, well, it did to me.
Wait, I was right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, they're sexually mature at 4 or 5 years old. And then their lifespan, how old do you think lions typically live to be in the wild?
I mean, if they reach sexual maturity, maybe like 12?
Yep, basically 10 to 14 years old is a typical lifespan. Remember, I said
I'm going to take that
back
to the bank. I feel like really good about the fact that I just guessed both of those numbers.
Way to go.
Wow.
Way to go.
Brush my shoulders
Kyle,
here a
insert
bit.
some applause.
I'm just
sound
really
effects.
proud of myself. I feel smart. Thank you. I needed that today.
Remember I said we'd come back to Mufasa, though?
Oh, no.
Does that kind of change?
Oh, yeah. Mufasa's like 5 years old. He's like, Simba,
The wise king.
I've walked this planet for nearly 6 years.
Right?
Because Simba's probably like 8 months old.
Yeah,
or
it's
like
super young, right?
a year, maybe. Probably not. He comes back and he's sexually mature, so he's like gone for a few years, but not that long.
Not that long. In my head as a kid, it was like 20 years.
Yeah, same. I was like, he's gone for like a decade.
No.
This is crazy. Nobody's even going to remember who he is.
No.
And it's like, nah, he was gone for like 2 years, maybe. One high school graduation in class.
Exactly.
And it's not even that, probably.
In the time it took my wife to earn her degree, Simba has come back to Pride Rock and fought Scar for control of, what are they, a nation? What do they count as? I don't know.
Yeah, that aged eight-year-old for control of the pride.
Which would also make Scar like a really old man. So
yeah.
Simba's like the Jake Paul
of
God.
Lions. Oh, no.
Just beating up an
You're
old
just
man.
Destroying the lion. Like, I already think the Lion King is fine, but like, wow, you're destroying it for me.
Yeah, listen, I don't blame me. Blame the fact that lions only live to be 14, apparently.
Zazu, the bird.
Oh, yeah?
Who's like the friend of the king. I was like, is his lifespan? Would he have been dead in those 4 years? No, he lives 15 years.
Yeah.
So he has lived through multiple regions. Not just he's seen them born and die. Like, oh God, the animal kingdom is crazy. Okay, so 5 years. We have to make 7 billion years out of things that live for 10.
Right, but they can reproduce, right, and start the next generation every 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So that means we'd need 1.4 billion generations.
Oh my God, that's so many generations.
750 lions per generation. Trace, you know what that math works out to?
That's a lot.
About 1 trillion lions.
Shut the front door.
Just like Daniel asked.
What wins? 1 trillion lions or the sun?
1 trillion lions on a space station out of the reach of the red giant sun.
With some human and or intelligent machine managers of their genome.
Yes, for 7 billion years.
I mean, seems doable.
Would outlast and therefore beat the sun. This is a much better plan than our 13
Honestly, I feel like this is
lions, by the way.
According to the Scottish government, lions need at least 37 meters squared of floor space.
Okay. Yeah, so it'd be a big space station.
Yeah.
Look, it would be a really impractical undertaking.
Squared times 750.
A population of 750 alive for 7 billion years, just so your sleepaway camp saying is accurate.
Wow.
But it would work.
That's not a very big ship, but it's a big ship.
It's a big ship.
What is that, 27,000, 30,000 square meters, with a little overage for the actual spaceship stuff.
Right. Are we giving them, actual gazelles to hunt, or are we just throwing them meat every few days?
Yeah, we're gonna need to definitely make
We're
that
gonna
bigger.
need the replicator.
Yeah, let's go get a replicator, and they'll eat their own poop for 7 billion years. Spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to that episode, I'm sorry. Go back and listen to it so you understand what I just said. Wow, Julian, wow. So how do they beat the sun? Longevity.
Time.
Oh my God. More questions like that, please.
I love that.
That was hilarious.
So
the lore of it, everything about it was
Not
excellent.
Not a single thing I didn't like about it. The unexplained personal calculation that he had done.
Yeah, it's so funny. Wow. Whew. Well, on that note, thank you for listening to this episode, this wacky episode.
I bothered a PhD solar physicist for that.
Oh my God, you did. Luckily, we knew him, and he was having a martini, so he was amenable.
Yeah, he was
great.
Down.
That's excellent.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. The show was created and written and produced by that guy over there, Julian Huguet.
And that guy over there, Trace Dominguez.
It was also produced and edited by the wonderful and wonderfully talented, the main, because Kyle Sisk.
Kyle could beat the sun on his own. It takes one Kyle Sisk.
One Sisk.
In a fist fight.
Yeah.
To beat the sun.
Yeah, he could do it.
Special thanks to listeners who submitted questions featured in this episode, Yael and Daniel. If you want to submit questions, you can look for the form down in our show notes. You can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask, or you can call us on our phone line. It's 302-TAPE-SHOW. That's TAPESHO.
Special thanks to all of our Patreon subscribers. We see you. We love you. Thank you for voting on the questions to help us get through the crazy amount of questions y'all are sending us, which is incredible. If we didn't have amazing questions, we wouldn't have a show, so thank you to those who are sending them, but also thank you to those Patreon members who get to vote on what questions we do. If you want to be a Patreon member, just go down into the show notes or go to our website and click on the Join Our Patreon button. The patrons get to vote on questions that we answer, but they also have other perks too. You can see them on the website. Shout out to our absurd administrators, Les and Adam. Thank you for continuing to support us and administer our absurdity.
Yes. Also, if you want to support the show another way, you can always leave a review that tells people that the show's worth their time and it's fun and what we're all about. You can leave us stars, hearts, words, whatever it is the app of choice you prefer allows you to do.
Yeah, do it, please. This show wouldn't be possible without you, the listener, so thank you for listening. Thank you for leaving a review if you have. You can always send us an email, ask us a question, or if you leave a review, share your review with us. Maybe we'll send you a sticker. Wink, wink, we will. We would send you one. And finally, a special thanks to any of you out there listening on Nebula. Nebula listeners get access to ad-free versions of episodes. They sometimes get the episodes early. And they can even support us and other independent creators and go watch videos and listen to podcasts by other people. Nebula doesn't just support us. It supports creators of all different types across filmmaking, to gaming, to engineering and science. Jade from Up and Adam, who we mentioned in the last episode, is on there, but so is me. I do psychology videos and things on there, and also people like Brian McManus, who does real engineering, and also Devin from Legal Eagle. If you want to learn about law stuff and comment on legal stuff that's going on in the news, there's TLDR News on there, which you can actually read and get news from people on Nebula.
There's Mustard if you like airplane stuff.
There's Mustard if you like airplane
stuff. Trace, do you want to talk about airplane stuff?
I mean, there's Wendover if you like airplane stuff too. I mean, there's Half as Interesting if you like. I mean, basically, if you like stuff, Nebula's Nebila's probably got something for you, and we are not even close to the coolest thing on there. But if you join, go to nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow. That tells them that we sent you over there, and that directly supports the show if you join through that link. So try it out. It's not very expensive, super nice. Anyway, remember, at the end of every episode, we always have a catchphrase that we came up with forever ago, and we just say it at the end of every episode. And that catchphrase is...
You're gonna need more lions. You only brought 1 trillion lions.
1 trillion lions? You're lying. Yeah! No.
Me versus 1 trillion bloodthirsty apex predators. You gotta be lying.
As we say at the end of every episode, if you're gonna beat the sun, just wait. Just wait.
Attack at night.
Just wait a little bit. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We will see you next week with a new episode.